Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. Elizabeth, I didn't even ask you what time it is, where you're based. So, welcome to the
Uh,
show, firstly, Elizabeth
Thank
Bykoff.
you.
Bykoff, sorry. And yeah, welcome to the show. Where are you? What time is it?
No, it's okay. I'm in Austin, Texas, so middle of the country in the US, and it's actually just past 5 p.m., so it's not that bad. It's actually time for a drink. I should have thought about
Yeah,
that.
it's Monday. I did ask if it's Monday, but I forgot to ask you where you are. Austin, Texas. Oh wow, how cool. I've only ever been to the airport, so I'll have to get over there and
You get out,
hang
yeah.
sometime and get out. But gosh, I was just talking to you quickly around your backstory, all of your successes and celebrations, and I'm going to just quickly go through that. But wow, I am so thrilled and looking forward to getting into a really great discussion. But you're the founder and CEO of Boxsy, and I want to ask you about the name because it comes from my brand days, etc. It's an AI powered operational hub designed to streamline day-to-day systems for startups, investors, and advisors. And we all need that. I know I need that as a startup. My goodness, like you're doing everything right. Launched publicly early this year, so it's very, very new. It's a baby. Boxy offers features such as automated reporting, cash flow dashboards, operational playbooks, and a curated expert marketplace, which helps early stage companies scale without, I love this, operational chaos. I always talk about organized
Yeah.
chaos, but operational chaos is
Yeah.
is that's too chaotic.
Same.
Got 17 years of experience working with scaling SaaS startups and help companies, including your senior leadership at PwC, and you've had corporate innovation roles. But from what I understand, you've got cross-cultural insights. So you've got roots that you've had an aerospace engineering in France. You did a thesis. So like just to add to the load, like you just, aerospace, my goodness. Um, and you've got your practical ecosystem growth strategy, but also you've just recently launched a book, your very own first memoir in
First,
May,
yeah,
which you want
first
to talk
book.
about today, which is called French Landing. Again, love the name. So keen to understand how the name came about. And it's basically inviting readers into a story of courage, reinvention, and identity alongside business leadership. And through your book, you're inviting others to embrace their contradictions, listen inward, absolutely love listening inward. It's hard to do that at times, and reclaim authorship over their own life narratives. So tell us about this journey because you've had quite a busy 2025 already, and we're only halfway through the year.
Halfway through. Yeah, it's going so fast.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, my journey's a bit, I would say non-linear, if that makes sense. I thought it was going to be a 25, coming from France and different generation, it was going to be very, very linear.
I'm all about
Till
non-linear. I'm all about it.
and yeah, and so it's turning more what an acquaintance of mine, wrote a book called The Portfolio Life, and I think I relate to that, that concept of a lot of us do not have linear lives or professional careers anymore, and we do spend also invest a lot of time on our hobbies or passion outside of work, right? And that all of these experiences and adventures, let's call them, make our life and our careers and all those things. So yeah, I mean, French born and raised, like you said, and I've been in the US now 21 years, and it's been aerospace engineering, converted to business really quickly, spent 10 years at PwC. So that's where I thought I was going to end up, very frankly, in that linear path of making partner and never leaving PwC. And back in 2017, instead of signing my life away after I built the Salesforce practice for them in the US and brought it to 200 million, I exited myself with no money to my name, and everybody was very, very surprised that I just quit. I had no job and I quit.
Well,
And
hang on, sorry.
I
Can we stop there for a second? You just 200 million, you just quit. What was it? Like why did you quit? Like did you have like were you burnt out? Were you just like
Yeah, well, first of all, I sold the first project, the first Salesforce project for the firm back in 2009, and that started my journey as a intrapreneur, if I can say that, with a couple of partners, and we were trying to, when the brand was behind us, obviously,
hmm,
but we didn't have any any capabilities. We were behind compared to Deloitte and Accenture. So that was a fun first 2.5 years going around the country pretending we knew what we were doing. And then finally we got, I wouldn't say a blank check, but leadership in New York said, yes, let's go build this practice. And so after that, we really kind of had the capabilities and the support to do that. So yeah, I mean, in 2017, there was a couple of reasons. Yes, I was traveling every week from the West Coast to the East Coast, 5 years straight. So I was a bit tired. Let's say I didn't realize it until I quit. I was also realized that I was just enjoying more the building part than the selling projects and
Yeah.
delivering. You know what I mean? I had really enjoyed that part of the journey. And then very frankly, there was a dangling carrot that kept moving. And, I just saw other people making partners and that looked very different than me that were treating people like shit. And I was like, well, that's not
Yeah.
me. So, if you're not going to give it to me right now, or you keep moving the pole, the goalpost, I'm
Go.
gonna go do something
Good
else.
on
So
you.
yeah.
I know about that travel. I mean, I was not 5 years, but I used to work out of Sydney a lot, and I think I did 47 weeks in a row from Melbourne to Sydney each week. I was literally coming back to Melbourne, so probably like you, just like come home, shower, go to some meetings, but then I was back traveling. It's exhausting. Like I think I did it for 2 years actually, and it was just you just can't do it. It's not sustainable, is it? But you don't realize until you
You
finish.
don't realize it until you stop, actually.
No, no. And so then so then what happens? So you've got no job. Everyone's kind of looking at you going, you've just walked away from nothing. Like you've walked away with no
Yeah.
partnership, nothing. Were you just like,
Yeah.
what am I doing now?
So I was in the Bay Area, so I knew I wanted to go into this pre-IPO world called startups, and I was not, you're aware of venture capital, but I was more like, hey, I want to work for a startup and help them build. So it took me 3 months, and I got a job at a late stage startup. Excuse me. They were going to go IPO in 18 months, so they asked me to come and help clean up house. And so that was a great transition coming from a services company to a product company. So I would say, since it was around 250 million when I joined, it was easy to really understand. Took me a few months, but understand that hey, services is great, but that's not what makes a product company. So that transition of learning even more about all the different functions and AR and all those things that I was like, what do you mean AR? What services is what is secondary? So that was a really great transition. And then from there, I just went from earlier stage to earlier stage, right? So from late stage to Series A to pre-product, pre-revenue. And then along the way, I picked up a couple of advisor role for startup founders that have been previous colleagues or people that I was introduced to. I made a couple of angel investments to some startups that I really believed in, and not all of them worked out, but some of them I'm still holding, right? And then eventually, at the end of 2022, after I left the last full-time job, I thought, hey, what do I do now? And I had ChatGPT had just come out, and this idea of Boxsy started, percolating. And so, yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty,
And then
yeah.
how did you come up with the name? Like how so Boxy? Like are you in partnership with other people? Like are you the like sole
No, it's me.
yeah.
It's me. So basically, and at the end of 22, I had this concept of ops in a box for founders. And ops in the box was taken, so I couldn't do that. And so I actually started without a name. I started doing user validation in 23, just talking to founders and understanding their pain points. And then at the end of 23, September, I got into the Morgan Stanley Inclusive Ventures Lab as a coach, which was in the middle of my, ICP and potential customers. So I thought, hey, it's time to incorporate. And then here I am, trying to find a domain that's not taken. And I really wanted, it went from control center to connecting the dots to trying to mix all that. And then I was like, I really like something with box, like out of the
Yeah.
box and, getting back to that. And Boxy without an S was taken. So I thought, well, you know what? Actually, the S is pretty good because it's box and systems. And how do we help founder
I
from that?
like it. Yeah,
And
it's
so I
cool.
ended up, okay, putting the two together. Of course, my friend Chat at the time was really helpful also to try to, play on, Sidebox. So, I mean, there was a bunch of combination of this. And then, yeah, I kind of settled on that. It was available, and here we go, Boxsy.io. That's how we ended up.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I love it because it's like startups, like because are they your main, is it startups are your main like ICP in terms of
It started as my main ICP, and then the wheel
investors and
didn't go as
advisors? Yeah.
fast. Yeah, it didn't go as fast in February when we launched, February, March. And so we started getting pulled by investors and ecosystem partners. So when I say ecosystem partners, it's like accelerators, incubators, corporate VCs that really liked what we were building for startups and started telling us about their pain points around transparency and visibility on their portfolio companies and their pipeline. And so we started getting pulled with a prepaid pilot from that side, a lot of interest. And so we started pivoting from a channel and really pausing the startup side in the sense of, hey, you know what, we're going to rebuild this product to allow for this validation that we're getting from investors, and build really the commonality between the two, which when you think about it is fundraising operations, right? So still very focused on startup founder, but we're really right now focused on fundraising operations and really helping founders being ready and managing their fundraising. And that means sharing with investors, right? So it's like this perfect two-sided platform. But yeah, we're putting more efforts on the investors and ecosystem partner side because we managed to get startups in bulk by doing that, right? Like I get their portfolio companies, I get their pipeline, and so they get the platform for free, and then they can upgrade as they see fit on some of the tools that we've built for them. So.
Wow. And the fact you've only started hitting early this year, it sounds like you've got a lot already going on. Like it sounds like it's gone like bang straight away.
No, actually, it's a bit different. I mean, I wish it was going that way. We're still, I don't think we have product market fit, obviously, but we're trying to get to that and really get the feedback. And
Yeah.
so, it's more of a pivot. And then, yes, there's a lot going on. The good news is that the pivot, we did so like what we built originally is wasted or anything like that. It's like almost we're building on top of it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, because investors really liked what we had on that side. So it's just approaching it from a different, go to
Yeah.
market and
But
and
does
really
that
doubling
whole
down. Yeah,
yeah, it's that whole non-linear piece as well, right? Like you go from here to here, you go back over here, you come back here, you're like,
exactly.
I don't know about
Yeah,
you, but
linear.
no, it's so non-linear, but I also kind of go, I don't know about you, but you might have started somewhere and you end up over here, but then you end up coming back to grab bits of where you started. That's what I notice. Like, and you go, oh, okay, now that all sits together. But previously it was like, no, you were so wedded, or you were like, yeah, no, it's this. Then you realize, no, it's not. I find it so interesting when it just kind of then comes back together in a different kind of iteration. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's again, I think at the beginning you always have the best intention and you think that's like, okay, this is it, that's what I've heard. And in my case, we spent about 6 months with design partners just going through requirements and what do you want and is that the right thing? And then you build that and then you're having trouble getting them on the platform and you're just like, what the heck? I just spent 6 months with you and you told me this is the priorities, this is what you wanted, right? And then they're like, well, we don't have money or, oh, something, right? So you're kind of disappointed, but you're like, hey, this is life, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then, we got surprised about that pull on the other side. But again, I think, it's finding that commonality between the two sides. And to your point, you're like, okay, well, I'm still with the first mission, which is helping startup founders, right? But we have to start somewhere. And right now, is resonating on both sides is fundraising. So we're like, okay, well then let's go. That's what's resonating. So yeah, we're kind of circling back, right? We started there, and then we're kind of, all right, well now I have both of you hopefully on the platform and creating that virtuous circle, right? So yeah,
Yeah. What's
oh
been
well.
what's been the we'll get to your book in a minute, but what's been the most challenging and most rewarding since starting Boxy?
Most challenging is always I'm a non-tech founder. I can read code, but I can't write code. I haven't written code for like 25 years or something. And so not being able to help the team all that in that level of detail, if that, you know what I mean, and jump in and be like,
Boom, boom,
screw
boom.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that's been difficult and challenging for me. You try to find the right people, but it doesn't always work out and all that. So I do understand why sometimes now it's important to at least be technical enough. But AI is changing that, to be fair. So there's a lot of things that non-tech founder can do now. I would say that's the most challenging because as a founder, you always want to build faster. So that's always problematic too. You're the headache for the team.
Yeah, you are. Because you're always
Um,
chasing. It's just always wanting.
Yeah, you're just like, we need this, we need that. I think the most rewarding thing is as it's like having a baby. It's the closest or metaphor or whatever you want to call it, right? You start with this idea on paper and then all of a sudden you have a logo and all of a sudden your name is with the company name on a badge at a conference and you're like, wait, what a second. Now, I'm legit. There is a name, there's a company and I sign up as the company that I built. And so I think the most rewarding is seeing the evolution on your company and just being like, whoa, this is what I'm building. This is what I'm raising. This is who I'm raising in a way,
Yeah.
and it's still a toddler. I'm not even with a toddler, I think. I'm about to, still crawling. The toddler's not on his feet yet, but I think that's the most rewarding is seeing, no matter what happens, right? You kind of really are all the effort you're putting is towards that raising that kid, right? So it's kind
Yeah,
of
no, I
interesting.
think it's a great metaphor because I've always thought about it like that too. It's like your own baby because you treat it like a baby, right? Like it's something you're constantly thinking about. You're constantly trying to work out, well, okay, what's wrong? Well, how do I fix you? What do I do? Like, how do we go forward? You have your moments where
Talk
you're
to
like,
me, but that he doesn't always answer. He or she doesn't always answer. It's
no,
like,
I
talk to
know.
me. What's wrong with you? And you don't get an answer.
I know. Okay, so now tell us about this book. So you've been working on a business and but you've also then written a book. Like, and when you signed or when you booked in for the pod, I always ask the question around what's one unique experience or insight in life, leadership, or business. And you talked about, and I recently published a book called French Landing, and I'd love to share a bit about it and what it takes to publish a book. Sorry, I can't speak properly with the audience too. And I'm like listening to you going, you are such a go-getter, like woman, like power, go you sort of thing. But you've also like, and I've got some questions around that too, but then you've been building a business, but you've also then been writing a book. Tell us about that and how you decided, okay, I'm going to write a book and the journey around that. Because I'm like, how have you done it all?
No, I don't know if I've done it all, but the book journey started before the baby journey called Boxsy, way before it. So interestingly, in 2020, when we all got stuck
Fine.
at home because of COVID, I was part of a women professional network called Chief. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's in the US. And I had moved to New York in 2019, and I thought, hey, you know what? I should join one of those networking group of women professional just to rebuild the network. I knew a lot of people in New York, but I wanted to really do that. And so, I think it's March or April of 2020, we all stuck at home, and two of the lovely ladies that were part of the community decided to have a webinar on how to write a non-fictional book proposal. And I was on the webinar and it was about an hour. And for an hour, they explained to us pretty much that you have to write about 70 to 100 pages, a 100-page proposal to then submit to an agent or, a publishing house to get a book deal. And, it's supposed to have, one chapter in it or part of a chapter, your marketing plan, you name it, right? And at the end of the call, I thought, if I ever write a book, I would write about 150 to 200 pages max, right? Why am I going to write half a book to get a book deal, to get paid, I don't know. I mean, we're an all unknown author, right? So it's like 25K. I don't even know how much you could get, right? So I got out of the call and I thought, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to write a book. And of course, everybody's like, oh, what do you know best, right? Let's write about business. I could write a book about consulting or something. I don't know. And I personally didn't want to write it. I thought it was boring. I was like, I'm not writing this. This is not what I want to talk about. What do I know? What do I know best? Where do I have stories that could be interesting, funny? And I thought, well, I landed in the US like as a French person. So let me go do some research. Has anybody ever written a book about, French people, experiencing the American culture immigrating. And because there's a lot of books the other way around, right? Americans in Paris, Americans in the south of France, and
Like
their
Emily in
experience.
Paris, the,
Yeah. Well, so, I basically did some research and there were barely any book the other way around with that perspective. And I thought, I can write about that. I have so many stories. And I started writing. Literally, the structure of the book came very easily. I thought I would do a theme by chapter. So I have a chapter about wine, I have a chapter about religion, politics, school, you name it. And I literally started I call it vomiting. I didn't think, I had the structure of the book and I thought, okay, chapter one, what are you, okay, this is the theme. And I just, on my bed during COVID, started writing. And I managed to get about halfway through the book. And then October 2020, what came out on Netflix? Emily in Paris. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Look at that. This horrible. I mean, it's so bad, it's so good, right? Like all the stereotypes and the cliche that she goes
I
through, right?
know,
Like we're all like following the seasons, even though it's like, I mean, it's a horrible
I
show, not
know.
in a bad way,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? So I thought, oh my God, this is like exactly the reverse. I need to finish this book. And the book turned for me into I need to finish the book. And I'd like the book to go and be Emily in Paris in reverse, right? And just try to do a story about a French woman landing into the same thing, right? With let's do the stereotype, the fashion, the dating. I don't, you know what I mean?
Love that.
And so it took me some time. I took a job at the end of 2020 and we were all still stuck in 2D. So having to write on weekends was just really difficult. I was like, I can't look at the screen anymore. So I paused for about 2 years. And then in May 2023, people were like, okay, so when are you going to get this book out? And I was like, okay, yeah, everybody knows now. I have to get this book out. And so, May 23 to May 24, really finished the book, got it edited, everything. And then, yeah, just finished up production and then audiobook recording and everything. And now it's live. Yeah, it's
Yeah, wow,
published.
congratulations. So it's like tell me like because it embrace you invite others to embrace their contradictions, listen inward and reclaim authorship over their own life narratives. So it's almost like your lived experiences, right? Is that what your book's about? Your own lived experiences?
Pretty much. It's like almost 20 funny stories of me I mean, some of them are a bit later than when I landed, but yeah, it's my first dating my first American boyfriend and dating, getting to my first class when I came as a visiting grad student and were like, surprised about, school. And so I use the book sometimes to share the differences between France and the US, the education system or things like that. And yeah, it's just really self-deprecating. It was absolutely not judgmental. It's really just so people, it was written with an American audience in mind, to be frank, or even other immigrants, and say, hey, I'm sure you've encountered the same contradiction or the same stories. But yeah, it was also to kind of say, hey, Americans, it's not always easy to immigrate to your country. Don't think it's easy. You have a very interesting culture. And then it was also hey, you're still very lucky. It's still a land of opportunity. And so, I'm grateful for where I wouldn't be here today if I had not taken the plunge and come to the country, right? So it's really that was the two goals of the book.
Yeah, awesome. And so then how did you know like where to get it edited, publishing, like what was your like you obviously had that webinar or whatever. But then how did you know? Like how were you guided into I'm gonna like and that sort of stuff? How would you yeah.
Yeah, I through the network, I met a few people that had written books or were in the publishing world. So I really tried to learn as much as I could from the different, self-publishing versus full-blown book deal to something in the middle. And in 2023, when I really decided to restart and finish up the book, I knew I needed help. So I ended up going with what I call a hybrid publisher. You protect your author's rights. They take less royalties, but at least they help you, really finish the book, edit, and potentially published. And so I went on that journey and just trying to get, a lot of feedback yeah, through my network on how to proceed. I think you can self-publish. For me, I didn't want to do that completely on my own. No matter what, you should have an editor because I don't believe in just releasing something with no editor. I mean, it's not my first language, so I was like, I need somebody to at least edit this. But a lot of people do it as long as you have, a freelance editor. Self-publishing now is way easier than it used to be. At the end of the day, it's not really the publishing that is very difficult, it's marketing, right? Everybody's publishing books and the marketing and social. And I'm not even doing half of what I should be doing for the book right now because of Boxsy. But that's really the piece where if you want your book to get picked up, it's a lot of social, it's a lot of algorithm on Amazon, it's a
Yeah.
lot of things. And I've learned about all that, and I'm like, oh, it's a full-time job, to be honest.
Yeah. And is it like since you've launched it, have you got good feedback? Like, are you getting like yeah, like what's the,
Yeah, we've like I said, it's been a lot of grassroots, just doing a few book events in different cities that friends are organizing for me. And then, I haven't done a great job with the reviews quite yet. I actually have to send an email to all my peeps and be like, "Hey, you've read the book now. Go put the reviews." But everybody's been pretty much very complimentary. I mean, especially people who know me can hear me in the book. I really wrote it as I talk. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's funny. I totally see what she's saying." So it's been, it's an easy read, beach read, I call it. And yeah, it's been so far well received by the people that have read it that have know me or don't know me, because I've had a few people not knowing me. So writing
I'll have to
reviews. So
read it. It sounds really interesting. It's like, it's like you've lived in France for however long, then you've come over to the USA, and so you've gone from what I like to think of one form into a new form, and then it's like constantly having to shape and reshape as you understand the American culture. Quite incredible. How do you do it all, Elizabeth? Like, how have you been able to juggle it all, like in terms of your own startup, finishing a book? Like, how do you find time for you?
time for me? Is that something that exists? No, I mean, I think it's interesting. A lot of people ask me that, and so I guess I must have some level of energy somewhere out there, despite my age. That's, it's only going up, obviously, like everybody else.
Yep, I hear.
Um, I think it is tiring. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm not burned out, or I mean, I'm not burned out, but you know what I mean? Like it is tiring, and at some point you gotta slow down or just set your priorities. And that's why the book, I'm not doing as much marketing and social because I'm like, hey, Boxy right now is my priority, and the book is forever there, right? I just have to spend some time or get some help. But I think at the end of the day, it's priorities. And if you're liking and or loving what you're doing, it's not as bad. I guess you just don't realize you don't think about it as, hey, this is a burden, like, oh my God, I have to do this. So a lot of the things that I've always done is I've kind of enjoyed what I've done. I've been lucky. Despite the ups and downs, you try to get more ups than downs. So I don't have a special secret sauce. I do. Yes, do I sometimes you absolutely need to take care of yourself. That doesn't change, right? I try to always have at least one day on weekends that I'm like, no more. Like off computers or whatever to really be like, yeah, this is at least one day I'm not
It's
thinking
generally, yeah,
about
I'm the
anything.
same. It's generally Saturday for me. I have to do it on a Saturday because I'm just like, I can't after the week. I'm like, it's generally Saturdays. And then
Here,
I'll look
so,
at
I
it.
mean, I pick one or the other. I mean, that's not fair. Sometimes I can manage both, but I usually pick one of those days, and it's like, no, like I will do something else. I do get a massage every week on Sunday mornings, so this is my little,
Treat.
first
Yeah,
world problem. I love it, but that's my self-care.
yeah.
It's my 1 hour for myself. I have to admit. And then after that, it's just and that's actually the hardest part for me is staying consistent on moving, meaning, working out or going for a walk or, I think in moments of stress and very and schedule, I have a tendency to cut on that more than anything else. And I don't think I know I perform better if I don't do that, right? If I work out maybe in the morning or, I go take the dogs for a walk or whatever it is, right? Like that motion, I function better if I have that motion built into the schedule
Yeah,
versus just
I call it active recovery, and I work with my clients a lot on it in terms of like it's making sure that is a non-negotiable in your schedule. Because I was similar. I used to just like it would just be like, or I'd smash myself. I'd be up at like 5 to squeeze in exercise to then get through the day. But it was just like I was exhausted all the time, right? Like it wasn't enjoyable how I was doing it. So now I kind of go, all right, well, how do I make sure that active recovery is a big part of my day? Obviously not consuming it or whatever. But because you feel so much better after movement. Like I don't know about you, but my little baby, we have to walk every morning because he's so structured and routine. And if I leave that place and I say to him, I'm going to get a coffee, I did it the other day and it was raining. I could hear him on the street crying, like, because he was just like, "What do you mean you're not taking me for the coffee, Mum?" It's like, do you know what I mean? Like,
It do help keep us in movement. I mean, that's the same. I take the dogs out in the morning, every morning on purpose, right? It's sometimes it's tedious, but I just do it because it's okay. I've had my movement, right? I mean, it might
yeah,
not be the only one, right? But it really helps just from a sanity perspective, I guess, and energy.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Especially when you're working and you're building a business, like you're saying, and then you've written a book as well. Like it all does catch up with you at times where you just do need the completely to the ability to switch off. Like, and I guess because, and you would know this a lot too, with just AI like coming in so fast now. Like there's like you can ultimately be on 24/7 now, right? Like it's actually quite wild. So I'm a bit like you. I get to a point where it's just like, no, enough's enough. I feel like my brain is searing if I'm on screens or I'm doing something for too long where I need that break.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's funny you mentioned AI because I think it's like this double-edged sword, I keep calling it, right? So on one side, it can make you so much more productive than, I can see that in myself, right? Like following up emails or anything like that. It's like, oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to do that without it. I mean, I would have, but it would have taken me so much more time, right? So it's like blessing in disguise, right? At the end of the day, it's also, at least from a, startup perspective, it's also putting a lot of pressure because, I mean, I can see it from an investor perspective. It's almost like they're all expecting us to have this explosive growth and, oh, you have AI now. Where is AI? Where is this? Do you know what I mean? And so it's almost like they're pushing an envelope that, to your point, you feel like you're constantly on and what's next and how do I go faster? But what I think is very interesting is because of that, there is a lot of reaction from entrepreneurs in general that don't want to build a business the same way as they used to. I was at New York Tech Week early June. I've been talking to a lot of younger founders, believe it or not, like Gen Z and you name it, Alpha now or double A, whatever it is, right? The 2010s. But and a lot of them do not want to take investor money, VC funding. They want to build the companies the way they want to do it. Yeah, and just say, maybe it's not going to be a 10-year or a 7-year, right? It's going to be a bit longer. And maybe it's instead of, being of the hockey stick, it's going to be a bit more linear and then the hockey stick, whatever. And so you're seeing starting to see a bit of pushback, not in using AI and say AI is bad, but that pressure that's coming, from external stakeholders in the ecosystem where founders are like, no, we're going to take a bit of money, but then they call it seed strapping now. So it's like, hey, we take a bit now, but then we stop and we never raise after seed stages. And then there's I found founders is like, I don't want to raise. Literally just flat out told me like, I don't want to raise. I'll just figure it out. I'll bootstrap. I'll get my first customers, but I'll just stay at my job and until, I sell my first customer, I'm not going to raise. I'm not going to raise. And so it's kind of this interesting, like in one sense, AI, like all this silver lining, right? But at the same time, creating that pressure. And at the end of the day, people are kind of pushing back and saying, you know
Yeah.
what, we're not going to do that. To your point, like we're just going to take breaks. It's going to take our time. We're going to do it our way. And I think that's pretty cool because it's like, hey, what's going to, what's changing,
Well,
what's coming.
yeah, it is cool. Like, and it's interesting that it's coming from also the younger generations that you're talking to as well, because they're not going to put up with how we've all done it, right? Like, I mean, I'm 47, and like, my whole work ethos was, and it was ingrained in us. You work hard, you get in early, you finish late, and you're the last, you're there till whenever to finish your job, sort of thing. But it's changed, and it's kind of like that, they're prioritizing other things as well. Like work's a big part of it, but for me, the observation is that work fits into their lives. Life doesn't fit into work. Whereas I was always of the, well, life fits into work, and now I've learned that work actually fits into life. So, and my puppies t taught me a lot about that too, but it's really important. And yeah, especially with AI and things like that and the pressure, like it's getting more and more, talk about chaos, it's getting more and more, it's not going away and it's there. So how do we leverage it for, like you say, for the efficiency, productivity, etc. But then how do we set the boundaries around it as well and do it our way as well? I think I quite like the idea of that. And it's almost like it's reshaping the future of VC, it's reshaping the future of working. And I think we're going to see a very different, workforce in like 5 years' time or so. Like I don't think it's far away. You know what I mean?
I don't think so either. I think you're right. It's going to come sooner rather than later. I think after that, we're going to see, and I think we will, systemic changes that we're all going to have to adjust to, including the younger workforce, but all of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's scary, but it's not, to me, it's not scary in a bad way, right? It's kind of that, that excitement, but at the same time, ooh, what is really going to come out of this, right? What
Yeah.
model, what
I'm a bit
operating
safe.
model.
Yeah. So tell me
So.
two quick questions for you. What's next for Boxy? Like, what does it look like? I don't know, by the end of the year? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, we're relaunching the startup product this month. I mean, it's pending, about to come. And then we've already started our MVP for the investor and ecosystem partners. So we are really trying to put 100 startups on the platform by the end of September and 5 pilots on the investor side signed. And let's go, really get their feedback. So that's our big goal. And then with the idea to put 200 startups on the platform by the end of the year. So it's pretty aggressive goal. So I better get cranking. Anyway, so, we've done that on purpose. And yeah, and we're obviously always fundraising, traction, product, right? So that's my trifecta. So very, very focused on those 3 things between now and the end of the year. And so yeah, that's pretty much it.
and then what would be your one piece of advice for anyone wanting to start their own business right now?
I would say it's funny. I turned 40 and I was like, I want to do minimum amount of effort for a maximum amount of money. And here I am doing maximum amount of effort for a minimum amount of money right now. Do I regret it? No. So I think I would say, just starting a business is a risk. We all know that. I think take a calculated risk. That would be my recommendation. Do it, absolutely do it if you're passionate and you think you found a niche or any type of things that you really want to launch, right? It doesn't have to be tech product, right? It could be any type of business. Absolutely do it, but make sure that it's a calculated risk. Because I think that puts you in a like stronger position when the lows and the challenges come, come your way. At least you have that plan. You have that calculated plan that really helps. I think that's my advice. That's
Yeah, those lows and
but
challenges when they
yeah,
come your way, having to manage through them, like, yeah, I think
yeah,
you got to have the right support around you too, don't you? The right
fair.
people support
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you can get through
Yeah,
those days. Elizabeth, how do we find out more about Boxy? Where do we buy your book from?
sure. Yeah, so for Boxsy, boxsy.io, boxsy.io. You can also ping me on LinkedIn. Always happy to talk to other founders, investors, anything I can do to help. I've been a coach for long enough now that, even if startup founders want to just chat, always happy to do that. The book is on Amazon, audiobook, ebook. Unfortunately right now the published book, the paper version is only available in the US. But I've been pushing, you can also find it on Apple or Google Play, anything like that. So, yeah, that's where it's at.
Very cool. Well, I wish you even more success with Boxy and French Landing. Like you say, it's landed, right? But you can push marketing on that anytime you want to, but it feels like it's going to gain its own traction as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll look it up, and I can't order the
Appreciate
hard
it.
copy, but I've got my all my books in the back there, so I do love it. I love a memoir. I love a good old yeah, a good old fun one as well, like so a beach read, and given that we're coming into summer. But no, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you today, and I wish you utmost success with everything you're doing. I have no doubt you're going to hit your aggressive targets by the end of the year. Just talking to you, you're just bang, let's go sort of thing. So yeah, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. All right, have a good evening.